So I told Greg Barfield that I just wanted to come up here and go, 3 years in the making for Renaissance in Santa Clara. I do have to apologize. My voice is a little bit raspy. It's not a cold, so those of you following me, the UCLA football game, I won't name who they beat. 2 more games and we might be in the Rose Bowl for the first time in a long time. So, you know, I wanted to start off this morning with a little reflection. So, I don't know if people have been into the unit next door, the open unit. And when you walk into that unit, which I think is beautiful, furnished, has food in the cupboard, has toiletries and other items for people, or for that person who's moving in. If you look out the window, perfectly framed by the window is a cart. A cart owned by someone who's homeless on the street here. And so while this is a really important day and a major milestone for what we've been doing in this community to address homelessness, I think that it's a sharp reminder that there's a lot more work to be done. And so I just wanted us to maybe take a moment and reflect in our own heads about the importance of today and about the next steps that we need to be doing. You know, I want to like really relish this moment. This is really exciting. On behalf of the Fresno Housing Authority, the commissioners of the Fresno Housing Authority, including Pam Coulson, the chair of the city board, Carrie Catalano, Craig Sharpen, the vice chair of the city board, Renita Anthony, who's the vice chair of the county board, and Osvaldo Vera, I know I saw him earlier. We are so excited to be sharing this day with you. So on any given night in Fresno, there's about 5,000 homeless individuals. And here at Renaissance, at Santa Clara, we're going to be providing permanent supportive housing for 69 individuals who are chronically homeless. They will also have permanent supportive housing. They'll also receive a large amount of services to really enable them to become self-sufficient, to become stabilized. And while this is permanent housing and someone can stay here for many years, we really hope that people, after a while, will make a choice to move back into their communities, back to the homes from where they came, because these are our brothers and our sisters, our parents, our children. They are Fresnans, and we are so excited to be giving them a chance to get back to normalcy in their lives. When we started this project, it actually started with a great investment from Fresno County. They're the first ones to step up and put in $1.5 million. And what I wanted to do is to recognize Donna Taylor first, the Director of Department of Behavioral Health. Donna, if you can come forward, we have a gift for you. You're not going to sing these words. I wouldn't surprise you like that. Donna, that one is for you. I know you'll be retiring soon, so you can take it with you and remember the 30 years of great commitment you've done for this community. Thank you, Donna. He's not here, I don't believe, but John Navarrete many times has sat across from him at the table, and he's said, what are you going to do for the homeless? What are you going to do in Fresno County? So I really was hoping I could say to him, look, we are doing great things with Fresno County funds. And Nan Guevara from Housing Finance Officer with Cal HFA, are you here by chance? Nan? They administer the MHSA dollars for Fresno County. So about 5 years ago, when I first came to town, one of the first people I met with was Supervisor Perea. He was my supervisor in my district. And I met with him and said, I'm new to the community, and I really want to hear from the supervisor about what he wanted us to do and his priorities. And his top priority at that time was to do something about the homelessness and to figure out a way to implement the MHSA dollars. And so I know it's 5 years later, I hope that this is meeting your expectations, and I would like to introduce Supervisor Correa.
Thank you, President. No, absolutely, it's exceeding expectations. As the President said, you know, I don't think the irony left any of us as we drove into this beautiful day and event and saw all the homelessness that is around us still today. And what it reminds us is that there's still a lot more work to do. And my colleague Supervisor Anderson, who will be leaving the board this December, going to miss you a lot, real champion for children, for the homeless. And you know, there was a lot of work that we've done to make things, projects like this happen. This is the third of several that have happened in this community. There's about 120 units now after these are open that we're going to have for the homeless. As the President said, there's over 5,000 folks in this town who need this type of help. So we're scratching the surface, but we know that working together, we're going to get a lot more done. You know, we're going to be updating, I believe, the 10-year homeless plan soon. I know a few years back when I asked Tom Richards if he would come in and be a part of that plan, he still corners me at the high-speed rail meeting and says, boy, you sure got me into something that took a lot of my time. But I'll tell you what, the right guy, right time, make good things happen. And I just kind of leave it at that. I know there's a lot of presentations to be made, but I'm proud to be a part of this today. I'm proud of moving forward with working with the homeless and recognizing that this is about county monies, city money, housing authority monies, and other agencies coming together to impact an issue in this community that we all know still has a lot of work to be done. So again, thank you, Supervisor Anderson. Thank you for being here. And Renita, I see you too. Just retired from the county and going to be working with us on this project too. Thank you.
I would be remiss if I didn't point out that my supervisor will become the chair of the supervisors coming January, so congratulations for that, Supervisor Correa. So this 70 units, I've said it's amazing. I want to dance and cry all at the same time. I don't know what to do. You said go ahead, is that what you said? But this is one of many efforts that Fresno Housing Authority has to address homelessness. Here in Fresno County, we are housing 145 homeless veterans with the Veteran Administration Supportive Housing Vouchers, VASH vouchers. In partnership with Fresno City and Fresno County, we house 833 people through the Homeless Prevention and Rapid Rehousing Program. Through Shelter Plus Care, we house 160 households. That's in partnership with nonprofits that provide services, and we provide the housing. And with the Fresno First Steps Home, which I'm hoping we will hear about, we are housing 41 households. So there's a lot that is happening through the Housing Authority to house homelessness. This permanent supportive housing is definitely an amazing step for us, but there are many other things we're doing. And we wouldn't be able to do any of this without our great partners. And I'd like to introduce a couple of the partners and give them recognition. So Jim Connell from Palvarello, we'd like to ask you to come forward. Palvarello did donate, I think it was like this portion of the land back over here to this project, so thank you very much for that amazing contribution. And of course, they will provide assistance to anyone who lives here who's seeking assistance, whether that's food or help across the street. That partnership with Palvarello is just a very key one for us here at the Housing Authority. I don't believe Jeff Johnston, who's the owner of Johnson Construction is here, but Mike Dundor, the site superintendent, is here to get something from us. They did a great job for us, fantastic job. You know, one of the things that we did unique here is we did a partnership with Penn Star, with Tom Richards and all of the folks at Penn Star. The Housing Authority issued a request for qualifications. We got a couple of proposals, and we selected Penn Star because of their knowledge of the development process and their commitment towards ending homelessness in this community. We learned so much through that process. That public-private partnership allowed us to learn how to navigate the city's permitting process, helped us to really think hard about the design and entitlement process, and to learn a little bit about construction. Our costs here are the lowest that we've ever experienced as a housing authority in construction, and I really do attribute that to the partnership we have with Penn Star and Johnson Construction. And the partnership goes further. There's a lot about our staff learning how the private sector does things, so as we do more developments, more renaissance, that we will have that knowledge in our toolkit. And so that I cannot even put into words the relationship that we've had with Tom Richards. And really, the relationship goes farther than these buildings. And it's really about the work that he's done on the 10-year plan to end homelessness. I think he's on the board of the Fresno First Steps Home. He has done just so much for this community. And with that, I'd like to introduce Tom Richards to say a few words.
Thank you, Preston. Thank you for the kind words, and they are dittoed back to you with the things that we've learned in our company and working with you and your organization and your staff. And hopefully this is just one of many to come. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for coming today. This is obviously a very important thing, I believe, this project for our community, certainly for our company, and certainly for the people that you see just beyond these gates. I came to realize a long time ago that homelessness is not a way of life. It's a condition. It's a condition in our society. It's a condition unacceptable. A condition that must be replaced with hope. In late 2007, as Preston mentioned, there was a joint meeting between the Board of Supervisors and the Council of the City of Fresno. At that meeting, they had a presentation from Philip Mangano, who at the time was the director of the U.S. Interagency Council on Homelessness. Both bodies determined at the end of that meeting, won't touch that anymore, determined at the end of that meeting that what was important was for this community and this county to embrace a new plan to end chronic homelessness. The reality was that this community, both the city of Fresno and the county, were losing substantial amounts of opportunity in federal funding because we didn't have a plan. And in fact, there were over 300 communities at the time around the United States that did. So in May of 2008, a planning council had its first meeting. It was composed of 31 members of the community, all appointed by the city and the county. As we moved through the process, we were told that the mandate was that we develop this plan for presentation to the council and to the Board of Supervisors in 100 days. We accomplished that task, and we had something, there's Pam. Had it not been for Pam Paulson, I'm not sure we would have had a plan. But I can tell you this, that she was the first one who raised a concern that all of us have had and had at the time, and that is, what if it's just another plan that finds its way onto some back table or bookshelf and is brought out once a year to dust it off? What we wanted was a living document. a document that required implementation and maintained relevant, recognizing that because it's a living document, as society changes, so should that document. Basically, it embraced hope. Something great happened in November of 2008. We got a new mayor. And I can tell you without equivocation or qualification that Mayor Ashley Swearengin has made homelessness for herself and her administration absolutely critical for the city of Fresno. And along with the support of Susan Anderson and Supervisor Perea and your boards, or your board, we have worked together to try to really make an impression on reducing the impacts of homelessness on our community and for those people who are the most vulnerable around us. Working with Preston has been a real treat for me because he brought to our community an experience from working in other communities and things that he had done as best practices that we hadn't even considered here, including things like private-public partnerships, Preston. And so what you see here today is a result of that sort of leadership, along with Georgianne White, who's not here today, but who behind the scenes has done amazing amounts of things that have helped move homelessness issues along with somebody that I don't know if you said, did you talk about John Navarrete? You? John Navarrete is an amazing person who came to Preston and I at a very critical part of this project, and because of his leadership, we got this thing off home plate real quickly. And I wish he was here because he truly deserves a lot of acknowledgement. And finally, I'm not going to say a lot because I know that the mayor will, but Greg Barfield is my brother. That absent Greg Barfield, I love you, man. I always say to him when I see him, don't you go anywhere, because I'm right behind you. Anyway, as you see around you today, this is a two-story mixed family community. It's got commercial aspects as well as office. It'll house 69 or 70 residents along with a manager and provide consulting areas for the residents. Preston's already mentioned Johnston Contracting, who we've had a long relationship with, and they're terrific. The architect on this job was Scott Beck. He was assisted locally by Kyle Schmidt. Where's Kyle? There's Kyle right here. He's a great young architect in our community, and without waving his flag too much, he's somebody you really ought to take note of because this guy really is interested in what's better for our community. In our office, Scott, are you around? Scott Anderson? Oh, there he is. Scott has been the project manager and administrator for PennStar throughout the project, and without him, a lot of what we do that we think looks pretty good wouldn't be possible. What I want to mention right now, because they've never had, I think, anybody say anything about them, but if I may, there are 30-some members, or 31 members, that I want to acknowledge in a public way. These were the members of the Planning Council for the 10-year plan to end chronic homelessness, and I'll go through them very quickly. Reverend Leonard Adams, Reverend Larry Arce, Councilmember Lynn Ashbeck, Sandy Chaw, Sister Mary McLennan, Pat Cody, Ray Dunn, Art Dyson, Doreen Ely, Jenny Marie Flores, Pastor Jim Franklin, Terrence Frazier, Stacy Hines, Debbie Hunsucker, Pam Carlson, Michael Lane, Maurice Lee, John Maffeo, Carmen Mendoza, Chuck Cornell, Catherine Perez, Terrence Placencia, Preston Prince, Bonnie Rusco, Kyle Schmidt, Judy Wathen, Al Williams, and the late Big Sue. So, ladies and gentlemen, before you is hope. It's housing, opportunity, prevention of homelessness, and the establishment of coalitions. This is the hope that each resident crossing the threshold over the years at the Renaissance of Santa Clara will have. And if I can be so bold as to say, pass on something from them, as was penned by James Baldwin. I am what time, circumstance, history have made of me, certainly. But I am much, much more than that. And ladies and gentlemen, so are we all. Thank you very much.
So I gotta tell you, I'm pretty humbled by Tom giving such an eloquent talk. He's the man of few words in a public setting, and for you to talk.
It's the high-speed rail.
Well, I took it as a sign that that we've done something good here. So I'm gonna have that as my mental note. I want to go back in time when I talked about when I first came to town. I met with Supervisor Perea. I also sat down with Pam Carlson, who at that time was the chair of the Continuum of Care, and I said, you know, how are things going with the Housing Authority and the Continuum of Care? And Pam said, well, it could be better, and I really do think that this is an outcome of that conversation, Pam. I think all of the work that the Housing Authority is doing is an outcome of that conversation. Pam and the Continuum of Care challenged the Housing Authority to step beyond running HMIS, which we did well, and Shelter Plus Care, which we did well, but to really become much more of a player in this community. Mayor Swearengin had the wisdom of appointing Pam to the board about 4 years ago, and Pam now has risen to the level of chair of our board. And I bring that up because without Pam's vision, and then to tell you the truth, without the commitment from the rest of the commissioners, I don't think the Housing Authority would be doing these kinds of activities. The Housing Authority boards committed $4.5 million towards ending the homeless epidemic here in Fresno. And so really, Pam, it's acknowledgement to you and what you've done. So please, let's give her a warm welcome. This should be Pam Carlson Day. Can it become Pam Carlson Day in the city? So the Continuum of Care has been a great partner for us over the last few years. The relationship with the 30 or so nonprofits that make up the Continuum of Care. The Continuum of Care also houses about 1,800 individuals in all of their different programs, from shelter to permanent housing. And I know that I'm supposed to give this to the chair of the Continuum of Care, but I'd rather give it to Doreen. So Doreen, can I give you a little something on behalf of the Housing Authority to the Continuum of Care? Well, it's because Doreen scares me, so I think that'd be nice to. I'm not going to go into the details of financing one of these developments. I think we do have information about it, but the number one funding tool is something called low-income housing tax credits. And it really enables a private equity contribution from a private bank, in this case, PNC Bank. What I want to point out is they actually own 99.99% of this development, I think. As I always joke, a couple of I was going to say the doors on the closets, but I think we have curtains. So how about the door in the bathrooms? Those are the Housing Authorities. Everything else is owned by PNC Bank. But we do have a great relationship with PNC Bank, and they have invested in I think 6 other deals with the Housing Authority, family deals, senior deals. This one was a little unique for them. I think it was a stretch investment, maybe we'd call it a partnership investment, but they saw what we were doing in this community and they invested $7 million in this project. And I'd really like to welcome Matthew Harrington up to get something from us for that contribution. So we did have a resident who was going to speak, but unfortunately something happened to him today and he couldn't make it. I think that that's really an indication of what it's like to live on the street, that even an important event like this he wasn't able to make because of life circumstances. And so he will be able to join us. He'll be moving in next week, so he'll be here. I think he's here in spirit, but he'll be here physically next week. So of the 69 units that we have for homeless individuals, 45 have been leased. People will start moving in next Tuesday, a week from tomorrow. We have another 24 households that have been, or individuals that have been approved, and we're just working on the final bits of signing the contract. So we should have 100% occupancy within a month, if not sooner, which is fantastic. And I want to point out, because I think this is a question that everyone has. Out of the 69 individuals that have either signed their lease or approved for moving in, 45 of those individuals lived on the streets here south of Ventura and in the vicinity of Poverello and the rescue mission. So let me say that again, because I think that should be recognized. 45 of the 69 lived on the streets right here nearby. It was about a year ago that the Housing Authority entered into a partnership called 100,000 Homes Campaign. It's to build 100,000 homes throughout the United States in a 3-year period. Not 100,000 homes here in Fresno, though I think that'd be good. And as part of that campaign, we've done what is called an assessment, and we've created a vulnerability index, looking at those people who are most frail and most vulnerable on the streets. I think we heard Tom mention Big Sue. That's who we are targeting, people who otherwise will die on our streets. And so by serving people who are most frail, most vulnerable, we are going to be able to give them an opportunity to live. And I mean that, not or like theoretically, but figuratively. No, literally, thank you. I should have notes. I should have got the top of my head. I need a prompter. So the next award I wanted to give out, and Greg, I'm going to ask you to come forward to pick this award up for us. We want to give something to the city of Fresno. And so, Tom, the only place that I'm hoping Greg goes is to the Housing Authority. I've been trying to get him to work at the Housing Authority for 5 years, but he just keeps turning me down. He does have a parking pass. The city of Fresno did contribute $1 million of home funds to this project, which is just amazing. We also have some Fresno First Step home dollars that's helping with relocation of individuals who live on the streets right outside of this property. And of course, the city's permitting process and entitlement process was fantastic. And so we did want to recognize the city of Fresno as being a really key partner in making this deal come together. We just recognize Greg Barfield. And by the way, he's one of the best huggers around, so if you need a hug, just get a hug from Greg. I don't know if Louie is here. Louie, where are you? Raise your hand. Louis, where are you? I know I saw you. Louis Morales is the outside property manager. There he is over here. Let's welcome him. This is his house. Thanks for letting us into your home. You're the only housing authority person who's going to get recognized today, but I just want to let everyone know there are so many key people within the housing authority that made this come together. But we have an event where we recognize our stewards, and so I'm going to save it for that day. I did want you all to meet Louis, who will be here on site. And with that, I want to get to our final speaker. And I think I should have Tom make the introduction because you stole everything from me. But it was 4 years ago when I first met the mayor, and we started talking about what can we do as a partnership between the city and the housing authority to end homelessness. There's been just so many great things, de-encampment efforts where we've housed people who were on the street in housing. Our first effort, I think, was about 3 years ago. We moved 100 individuals into housing with private landlords. 80 of those individuals are still living in their units with the leases in their name, and so I think 80% success rate is fantastic, but that's just one of many successes we've had. And really, I don't think I could do justice in an introduction, so I'll just be quiet and let the mayor come up and say a few words.
Thank you, Preston. It is indeed a moment that we have all been waiting for, and it's really a pleasure to be here and to see this project come to fruition and to know just what it represents. And I think it's been so appropriately said this morning by Tom Richards, this project represents hope for the 69 people who will live here, but I dare say that it represents hope for the remaining 4,000 plus people who live on the streets every day in Fresno County. And it represents hope for our broader community, that no challenge is too great, that when we come together, we can make meaningful difference. It would be impossible to recognize and demonstrate enough appreciation for the Fresno Housing Authority today, but I'm going to do my best because what they've done here is nothing short of remarkable. I have the pleasure of traveling around the country and meeting other mayors and other housing authority leaders and people from the United States Interagency Council on Homelessness and people from across the country who are doing the difficult work of trying to provide solutions for homelessness. So I'm the one who gets to hear all of the incredible comments and praise that are said about Preston, about his board, and about his staff across the country, widely recognized as one of the leaders in addressing homelessness in the housing authority community. Oftentimes, you don't realize what you've got when you're used to it. We're used to seeing Preston's leadership. We're used to seeing Pam Carlson's leadership. We're used to seeing the housing authority staff leadership, Angie Wynn. We're used to that here, right? It's become familiar to us. But let me just remind you today that this is not at all typical in other communities, and we are deeply blessed and grateful for the work, the blood, sweat, tears, and the leadership that we have from the Fresno Housing Authority. So please join me in again recognizing Preston and his team for their work. I also want to thank and recognize the County of Fresno for their contributions to this project. But for the County of Fresno, we would not have this project. And it is a tremendous demonstration of their commitment to being at the table and helping to address the problems of homelessness. So I want to personally thank Supervisor Perea and Supervisor Anderson, Board Chair Pachikian, the other members of the board, and of course, as been said, John Navarrete, Donna Taylor. Heard great things about Donna and the work that she's doing. It is a big deal, but for their commitment, we wouldn't be here today. I also want to recognize the continuum of care, and partly that's just an excuse to again recognize Angie Wynn, who happens to serve as the chair. So I can thank her for her leadership on the continuum. But also it's another sneaky way of just saying how remarkable Angie herself is and the work that she does day to day on behalf of the Housing Authority. And I want to say a special thank you to Greg Barfield. He has appropriately been recognized, but let me add my words to what needs to be said about Greg today. I think you all have seen firsthand his commitment to addressing homelessness. And you see his work, you see him at forums, you see him at the table as a part of a community conversation, you see him at the continuum of care. You know what he's doing day in and day out when you see what he does. But what I want to recognize is what he does when nobody's looking. And I want to recognize Greg for the times when he drives home from work and sees somebody on the side of the road in a box and he stops. And none of us are there. And nobody is taking pictures. I want to recognize Greg for the countless times that he personally helped someone transition off the streets and into their new apartment. And I want to recognize Greg for the times that he wasn't at home with his family and he was instead helping somebody else create a new life for themselves. So let's again thank and recognize Greg. For the things that we see, but more importantly, for the things that we don't see. And that's what's important to me. Lastly, I want to recognize a relatively new partner, but nonetheless invaluable in this work that we're doing to address homelessness, and that is Sarah Nusser from our SC2 team. Sarah is a gift straight from heaven, I'm convinced. She might be an angel in disguise, I'm not sure, and on assignment from heaven to help Fresno address homelessness. And she's helping us in a lot of different areas, but she has really taken upon herself to put us in touch with resources and smart people who are a little bit further down the road than we are in Fresno from communities across California. She has really been an invaluable partner and will help guide us as long as we can possibly hold on to her. So we thank Sarah for her work. I just want to say a quick word about Fresno First Steps Home and then a few closing comments. And then I know we want to take a tour of this beautiful facility. Preston mentioned that we started Fresno First Steps Home as a way to raise private dollars to match the federal and sometimes state grant money we're able to bring home to Fresno. It is so important that we have those private dollars to leverage the investments of government agencies and to have money with no strings attached to, on a moment's notice, be able to get somebody off the street and into an apartment when we can get everything lined up to do so. Fresno First Steps Home, our goal is to raise $1 million a year. And my intention before I leave office is to make sure that we're raising money at that pace. It's taken us a little longer to get to the first $1 million, but how many of you know it's all downhill from there, right? So if we can get to that first $1 million and establish a spirit of giving and a pattern of giving towards homelessness, I think we can start meeting that goal of $1 million a year. We're to almost $800,000 right now, which is incredible. And in the coming months, we will ramp up. We know one of the barriers to raising even more money is that people like the idea, but it's hard for them to give. But we started our texting campaign. You can still give online, you can drop a check in the mail, but we need to make giving to First Steps Home just second nature for people. So we really want to have a much bigger presence in retail, shopping centers, and other places where people, when they have a buck, they can just drop it in the container. So bear with us and hang in there, because we do want to see a robust, ongoing giving campaign through First Steps Home, where we're off to a good start. Now, let me just close with this. I don't know about you, but I think Preston's comments to kick us off were very appropriate. And I find in a moment like this, where we are celebrating such a great accomplishment, yet at the same time, we're surrounded by the evidence of much, much greater work to do. And that creates a conflict in my heart. I don't know about you, but I feel a sense of conflict. Is it okay for me to be happy that we got 69 more units built when hundreds and thousands more are needed? Or should I deprive myself of happiness and thankfulness because I might somehow fall short of the goal of trying to get more units available for housing the homeless? Are you feeling the same way? Like, how do we reconcile these things? How do we reconcile the fact that we've taken a big step forward and yet we have many more steps to go? Well, this is the way I like to think about how we reconcile moments like this. And have heard of a Chinese proverb that says, when you're climbing a mountain, you should never look up, because you'll see how far you have yet to go, and you'll get discouraged, and you'll give up. And when you're climbing that mountain, you should never look down, because you'll see how far you've come, and you'll get boastful, and then you'll fall short of the goal of reaching the mountaintop. And I've heard that proverb, and I thought, gosh, that just doesn't make sense to me. Maybe it's my Arkansas roots or something, but that's not the way I tend to think about climbing a mountain. When I think about climbing the mountain, I think you have to do both. I think you have to look up and see the challenge and know, oh my gosh, we can't stop short. We have so far to go. But at the same time, if you don't allow yourself to look down and see the progress you've made, how in the world will you ever find the strength and the courage and the fortitude to look up and to keep going? You hear me? So today, I want to give us permission to look down and to see we have come a long way from just 2007, when there was no plan to even address chronic homelessness in Fresno. I dare say it wasn't even a recognized public policy issue to the level it should have been at that time. To be where we are today, having housed hundreds of people and now adding another 69 units today, to seeing a broad coalition coming together, people who have cared about homelessness for a long time and those who are just now starting to pay attention, all coming together to say, hey, we can do better. Let's celebrate how far we've come. And let's stay there. Let's reflect on the progress. But let's not leave this moment without looking up and looking around us and seeing that we still have yet a far, far way to go. But we've come this far, and that's the basis and the evidence for our hope and belief that we can move forward and take the next step and the next step and the next step and hand off to the next generation of community leaders who will go even farther than we today. So with that, let's celebrate today. Let's be at peace with being happy. We're happy that we got this far, and yet we have a long way to go. So with that, thank you, God bless you, and let's keep up the good fight.